Good morning. I know it's unexpectedly early, isn't it not? It's good to be with you. This week, I got some gifts from the grade school kids because it was previously, at some point, was my birthday. And the kids all gave me cards, which was awesome, and I love it. The pre-K kids and kindergarten, though, they had a little quiz, and they had different questions, and then they would fill in the answers. And so I'd like to read you some of my favorites. One of them wrote, "One of the things Father Sahd taught me is," and then blank. And they wrote, "to play the xylophone." I don't really even know what a xylophone looks like, let alone teach someone to play. One of the things Father Sahd taught me is to hold Jell-O. I'm sorry, I don't know. I think Father Sahd's job as a priest is to chop trees down. I think they're confusing me with George Washington. Something I have in common with Father Sahd is we both like the Philadelphia Eagles. Some things are wrong guesses. That's just wrong altogether. Something I have in common with Father Sahd is he is nice, but I am a little boy and he is a big boy, so we have nothing in common. Something I have in common with Father Sahd, this is true. Something I have in common with Father Sahd is that we are both weirdos. I know that Father Sahd loves Jesus because he is God. Now, I think they were referring to Jesus. That's what I'm hoping that they were referring to. I love it that our preschoolers know the Trinity, so that Jesus is God, and so I'm hoping that that's what they were referring to. But I love these cards. And of course, I love our children, two of whom are serving. Luke asked me on Friday, he said, "I'm serving at 8, what time should I get up?" I said 5. Did you get up at 5? No, he doesn't remember. Yes, so I love our kids, whether in our school or our religious ed program. They say children are the future. They're not the future, they're the present. And they teach us love of Jesus Christ where they are now. So thanks be to God for them. So they see me a lot, and they interact with me a lot, but they don't maybe always know me. They couldn't get an answer right on a quiz about who I am or what I like. Because you have to get to interact and know somebody in order to know what they are and who they are and things like that. What if we wanted to know about Jesus Christ? Could we just guess who he is? Could we just anticipate? The phrase, "What would Jesus do?" And then you hear all kinds of people say, "What would Jesus do?" And then they fill out the answer, as if we could know by just guessing. But there is a way to know who he is. And what happened to the man in the gospel is the formula for how we get to know him, how we get to interact with him. This man who was born blind, he is all of us. All of us do not know who God is. But we know that he was born blind, and Jesus took clay and put it on his eyes, and then told him to wash in the pool of Siloam. So he washed. And that, brothers and sisters, is what happened to us when we received the gift of baptism. We were told to wash too, to wash off original sin, to wash off our blindness, so that we could get to know him, and not only know him, but to receive his life through the sacraments. So just like this man, we got to know him by the gift of baptism, to wash. And so our eyes were opened. And then we hear, just like that man heard. Immediately they asked him, "Who is he?" And the guy says, "Well, he's a prophet." And as he gets to talk to Jesus more and more, he understands that he is more a prophet. He is the Son of God. And the man says, yes, and I will worship you. And so as he heard about God, after having his eyes opened, he became less blind to who Jesus was, and then knew exactly who he was, and then could receive his life. The same is true for us, brothers and sisters. When we wash in the gift of baptism, we hear his word, we get to know who he is, then now we can answer, who is Jesus Christ? He is the Savior of the world. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything is great, because we fall into sin along the way. We forget who he is, even though he has given us everything we need. We forget who he is. And so we fall into the trap of sin. And so this Lent, brothers and sisters, is a time to have our eyes cleansed again so that we can again see him and know him for who he is through the gift of confession. Next Sunday at 2 o'clock, we will have our annual Lenten time of confessions with lots of priests here. I think there'll be 10 priests here. And so that is the time where we can again wash our eyes, because we know that from our baptism, or from maybe the last time we went to confession, whether it was a couple weeks ago, a couple years ago, 40 years ago, that our eyes have become clouded. And maybe we haven't seen Jesus Christ for who he is. Now, I know confession is difficult. I know very well. Again, it was 18 years before I entered the seminary, before I went to confession. The sacrament of confession changed my life. I felt and I saw who Jesus Christ was through that sacrament. I felt his mercy through that sacrament. But man, I didn't want to go through that door. But there is such a great gift that we receive in that sacrament. St. Margaret Mary, who began to have visions of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, went and told a priest this. And he didn't believe her. So he said, go to this person you're talking with, he didn't believe that it was Jesus, and ask him, what was my last sin that I confessed? And so St. Margaret Mary said, okay, so the next time that she had this vision of Jesus, she asked Jesus, what this priest wants to know to prove what your last sin was. So she got the answer. She went back to the priest. The priest said, okay, what did Jesus say? And St. Margaret Mary said, you wanted me to ask what your last sin that you confessed was? And he said, yes, tell me. And she said, Jesus said he's already forgotten it. That is the truth of confession. We're not going in there to get accused again and again. He takes the burden of that sin off of us. And it is destroyed in eternity. He forgets it. I certainly can forget confessions. I don't remember, because he does. And so, brothers and sisters, as we seek to know who he is, it is essential that we receive this interaction with him through the sacraments, through baptism, through the Holy Eucharist, who we will receive today, his body and blood, truly, and in the sacrament of confession. Then we can see him and know him clearer. So if someone asks us, who is Jesus? We can tell them who he is. Not just guess, but know, because we have met him through the sacraments. Praise be Jesus Christ, King of the universe, now and forever.